So, I've been noticing there's a good number of type 1 diabetics vlogging on YouTube these days, and that's a good thing. But the other thing I've noticed is there's not a lot of old type 1 diabetics vlogging on YouTube these days. So, I figured it would be handy if, some of us that have been around for doing this for 30 years threw in our 2 cents upon occasion. Yeah, a good place to start would be the diagnosis story. Everybody calls it that, but for me, I'm going to go with origin story. Because it's how I became me. It wasn't just a diagnosis. It changed everything in my life 100% completely, beyond a shadow of a doubt. So, okay, the important thing to understand about the, origin story is that, it is who I am. It's how it started. It was going to start badly no matter what. It starts badly for all of us, pretty much no matter what. So, I'm not looking for sympathy. Not looking for anything like that. Just letting you know where, how I got here and where I'm coming from. So, on to the Ivan's origin story. So, the fall of 1980, I was 10 years old in 5th grade. Started on a Thursday night. I had been sick for a while, but, really things came to a head on a Thursday night. It was exactly a week before Thanksgiving. I'd been taking a bath, and quite suddenly was just overcome with waves of nonstop nausea. That would be end-stage ketone acidosis starting out at that point. As I'd been sick for a couple of days, and everybody thought it was just flu, including myself. Granted, it's because I didn't know better. So the next day, because I was really, really not better the next day, I got hauled up to the HMO doctor's office that we were using at the time, because it was the Teamsters Union HMO that we were under, and saw the doctor. He was a GP, is to be expected. He suggested that I'd perhaps been playing with kerosene, and that's why it smelled so horrible, and was, couldn't stop throwing up. So, they took blood, and did a throat swab, and sent me home. Yeah. Granted, this was 1980 when, doing something simple like getting your current blood sugar, did not involve, there were no test strips yet. There were no meters. There was nothing like that. So, finding out what my blood sugar was currently at that moment was going to take a couple of hours to get back from the lab, and I think they had an in-house lab, but was probably not a good one. Granted that they did at that time know that my urine was completely loaded with sugar, and that I was dropping ketones. So what they didn't really know was what my blood sugar was, what my pH was, the other final indicators. And so they sent me home. Yeah. And the next morning, not only had I not gotten better, it had gotten a lot worse. And at first, it was all trips to the doctor's emergency room had to be pre-approved by the HMO. Their suggestion was I just try to just drink sips of water, just try to, stay hydrated with sipping water. That was clearly not working. So, we had to, get me to Children's Hospital in downtown Milwaukee from South Milwaukee. And, it was, it was a Saturday before Thanksgiving. So, downtown Milwaukee at that point, at that moment, that day, was, pretty much eaten up with the annual Christmas parade. And we were taking the bus, because that was the option. So, we got downtown, and, bus traffic east and west was shut down, because Christmas parade. And so, we got dropped off at Water in Wisconsin and had to get to 24th in Wisconsin to the Children's Hospital. And so there I was, suffering from end-stage ketone acidosis, walking 24 blocks, because that was the choice. That was how it was going to be. There was no way around it at that point. And so, started the walk, which I don't even know how long it took. All kind of fuzzy for me, because that day sort of sucked. It was a long time ago, and again, that day sort of sucked. And so, the thing you gotta keep in mind is, when you're that deep into ketone acidosis, you can barely keep your breath up, because you're just your red blood cells aren't hauling oxygen very well at that point. So I'd occasionally have to stop to throw bile again into a garbage can here and there, and moved as fast as I could, the whole time knowing that at the end of the trip was things weren't going to necessarily just get better, but I did it because it had to be done. There was really no choice. So got to Children's Hospital, and Dr. Kohler, who was really, me and my friends from back then pretty much viewed her as a brilliant endocrinologist, because she was good. She was really good. Met us in admissions, took one look at me, and knew exactly what was going on and what needed to be done. And so, it was very quickly. I was hauled up to the ward. They had a bed waiting for me, and got my first shot. That the very first time I ever had insulin was right then, right there. And the awesome, amazing part is, within a couple of hours, I felt infinitely better. Infinite. I mean, just words can't describe how much better I felt within a few hours. And then after that was the week-long, journey of, learning what it meant to be a type 1 diabetic from now on. Every day was pretty much non-stop studying and learning. Thing is, back then again, not only were there no test strips, even your analysis, to find out how much sugar you were spilling, there was no litmus strip for that yet. That wasn't going to come around for another year and a half. So that involved a test tube and this little tablet and an eyedropper to, and then matching the color against a chart, because that was that was pretty much cutting edge at that time. In fact, back then, these hadn't been around for that long. It wasn't long before I had gotten diagnosed that people had switched to these from the glass syringes. I'm glad I got to miss out on that. I can't say I'm missing it. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. I was kind of thinking I might do more of these. We'll see. Yeah. So before I forget, there's a couple of things that I learned that were real important that day. One, I learned life is for living. You should never, ever, ever take just being around for granted, because you really have two choices. You're either in the game or you're out of it, and I prefer to stay in. So you never give up. It gets hard, but everything is. I don't know. It's a continuous battle. A war, lots of battles. You win some and you lose some. But diabetes you might get a low blood sugar event, or you might have a high blood sugar event. These are momentary things. Diabetes doesn't win because you had a low or win because you had a high. It wins because it made you not live your life to the fullest. So never give it that, because that's not worth it. Another important thing I learned was people that claim to know more than you, always question them, because sometimes you find out that they're not making the best choices either. Alrighty, I think I'll be posting more of these. Enjoy.